Hello there. Hi, and welcome. It's Spiritual Psychic Cynthia Killian here, also known as Psychic Cynthia, and welcome. And today is a Tea Time in the Garden video, so welcome to Tea Time in the Garden. And I'm standing today because I've been doing some computer work earlier and I've been sitting a lot, so it feels so good to stand. And have my nice iced tea because it's still a little warm out. But welcome to today's video. I'm so glad you're here. And I'm just logging on to share with you a little bit of guidance about watching out for fake psychics. And you guys, I'm doing this video today, and you gals, I should say, you ladies and gentlemen, I'm doing this video today because just today I saw a story online about a fake psychic who got in trouble with the law and actually sentenced and fined something like 1.3 million. Oh, it was over $1 million. I think that was money they had to give back. And of course it didn't say fake psychic on the story, and that's what I hate about it, is because it just says psychic, blah, blah, blah. But I went over and read the story, and I'm summarizing here, and maybe you can find it online. I'm making this video in September of 2019. I think today's date is it's the 14th. It's the day after Friday the 13th, 2019. So check out if you want to read the story. Maybe you can find that. I can't remember what source it was, but it was came out today, September 14th, 2019. And there is a story about a woman who purported to be a psychic, who claimed, and the article didn't get into that, whether she was psychic or not, but anyway, I'm summarizing here very much, but it sounds like there was an interesting relationship between her and her client, and she defrauded this client out of, I don't know how much money, I mean thousands, if not more, hundreds of thousands, by telling that person that they had a curse on them, and then she would need certain large amounts of money, or in some cases valuable jewelry, like semi-precious or precious jewels, to do a spell to remove the curse. So this is what I'm talking about when I say fake psychics. I'm not talking about watching out if your psychic isn't that good. Hey, listen, there's some psychics out there that are better than others at doing readings, okay? That doesn't mean they're fake. It just maybe means they're inexperienced if they're not, or just maybe they're not naturally that good. That's different than what I'm talking about here. What I'm really talking about here, and what the story is really talking about, and I wish it would have said, is a fake psychic, a con artist, somebody who is not psychic at all. Because listen, all the psychic people I know would not do this. I mean, I'm not saying they're all great psychics. Some are great, some are mediocre, some aren't so good. And then there's the whole issue of what is a very good psychic for one person. In other words, you may have a special relationship with a psychic who can read you very well and help you a lot. But, somebody else, maybe that psychic doesn't work so good for them. So that's all in a different ballpark here. What I'm talking about are people who actually pose as psychics, posers. And generally, they try to take you for your money, and they keep raising the ante, so to speak, financially, by saying you are cursed with the evil eye or this or that, and they need more money. So just watch out for that, okay? And listen, I'm not saying that curses aren't necessarily real. I mean, I think they're real if you believe they are, right? If you believe it's real, then it's real for you. I will say on the subject of curses, and I'm kind of like the opposite of this lady. I have people that come to me all the time that say, Cynthia, they tell me, the client tells me they think they're cursed and they need to remove it. But 90% of the time, I don't agree. I don't think the client is cursed at all. I just think they're having some difficult times most of the time. And, if that's the case, if you came to me and you said, Cynthia, I think I might be cursed, I mean, I'm going to ask you. Or even if you said, another way of putting it, some people say, well, I think somebody put some bad mojo on me. I'm going to ask you, Can you think of somebody that you've crossed who would do this? Because truthfully, I mean, frankly, if you are having bad luck, but you're attributing it to somebody putting the quote-unquote evil eye on you, but you can't think of a single person you've crossed, and especially if you can't think of a single person who would actually know how to put the evil eye on you that you've crossed, then it's unlikely that you're cursed. Okay? So just don't get taken advantage of like this person did. And I wish, again, the news story would have said fake psychic, because there are real true psychics, sincere people like myself who do help people. And, you know, cons like this make the rest of us look bad. I mean, you know, it's interesting, though, that the news is so biased against psychics. And I say that because if there is a fraudulent lawyer, it would say fraudulent lawyer, right? It wouldn't say lawyer gets, it would say con artist, a lawyer, or fraudulent lawyer. For example, there are cons and frauds in every field, especially in this day and age we lived in. So just this is something to watch out for. People who call themselves psychics who definitely, in my opinion, are not, or maybe they are. I mean, I can't say that they don't have the ability to read the future or help people with their problems. I mean, I can't say that without having met every single one. I can't say that definitively. I do know in most cases these stories that I've heard, and unfortunately I have helped people recover from situations like this, which is basically helping unbrainwash them from the negative ideas that these frauds have put into their mind. And I have helped people, even without no charge sometimes. So, you know, I've helped them not spend their money in that way. Listen, if you want to spend your money on a really good psychic, you should do that. And I'm not saying I'm the only one. There are many good psychics out there. There's not many great psychics. That's true in any field, right? In any field, you're going to have those who are on the top in terms of ability and service and caring about their people that they're serving. But there are a lot of good psychics, a lot of true and sincere psychics who are not con artists like this. So what I would say to you, I mean, it's one thing if you go to a psychic and you say you have the evil eye. And even if you do that, I mean, I think that a truly good psychic, even just a good psychic, would ask you why you think that, would not assume that. You know, I'm sorry, but just because my clients think they're under the evil eye, I don't think that's true. I'm going to go check it out in the psychic realm. I'm going to be looking for certain evidence. By the way, not all psychics know how to deal with the evil eye, okay? And listen, I know some of you watching this don't believe in the evil eye, and that's good for you, by the way, because that lack of belief might protect you in a certain way. Now, does that mean the evil eye isn't real? No. I will say this, you know, to be affected in that way by the quote-unquote evil eye, you know, or cursed, I mean, there has to be somebody on the other end. In other words, there has to be a person who can give the evil eye, who can curse a person of great power. That person doesn't have to be quote-unquote a witch or anything like that. And in fact, most witches are kind, loving healers, okay? But there are people who, if you cross paths with them, do know how to project negative energy. A lot of them work in the corporate world, by the way. Hello. I'm not saying they know magic. They don't have to. They know how to project energy. It's different. But it's just rare. It's rare that somebody is actually under the evil eye. It's rare in this day and age that they're actually cursed, because there's just not quite as many people, you know, that know how to do that. And really, we curse ourselves mostly. Okay, we curse ourselves mostly with our self-sabotage. And maybe that's a video for another time. Maybe I'll do that later today. But again, just, you know, be aware. If you go to a person who calls themselves psychic, and especially, okay, listen, are you listening? Especially if you go and get a cheap reading, which I just don't recommend you do. You cannot trust a cheap reading, okay? I mean, if you were buying a car, and I don't know what year you're watching this video in, if this is much later, but if you're watching it right now, I mean, if you went right now and bought a car for $500, let's say, I mean, I think you would know that car is probably not going to run very well, right? And it's the same thing. If you go and get a reading for $5 or $10, I don't know, maybe it could be a special promo thing, but, you know, I wouldn't trust that if I were you, not in this day and age, not unless it's somebody you knew, somebody that came highly recommended, even then, because it's just like any other business. I hate to say it, but there are unscrupulous characters who try to suck you in by giving you that bargain. And you know what actually sucks you in with that? Your own greed and your own cheapness. Because if you say, well, I want a reading, but I don't want to pay anything for it, right? So I'm going to go get the cheap $5 reading or $10 reading instead of, you know, buying a reading at a more fair market value, you know, which might be, you know, different depending on where you live, by the way. I can't say what that fair market value is, so don't even ask me, because it does vary a little bit from city to city, just like everything else. But just beware, if something seems too good to be true, in terms of like a price for a reading with a person you don't know, just be very, you know, I don't know, cautious. I wouldn't do it. In fact, I usually don't get readings unless it's with a person who charges the same as me or more. Just because they charge more, it doesn't mean they're great psychics, okay? I'm not saying that, but it seems that they're going to be less likely to try to defraud me, okay? So just some things to think about. And if you ignore this first part of the advice I just gave, and you say, well, I'm going to try, maybe it feels right for some reason. Maybe you're at a, I don't know, psychic fair, and they're doing $5 readings all over as part of the event. It might be okay then, okay? And you might have a great experience, but, you know, if you get pulled in with an inexpensive, very cheap, not just inexpensive, cheap reading, and suddenly, you know, you come in, you're spending $5 or $10, and now suddenly, you know, they want $500 from you. That is an increase of 100, you know, times 100, not 100%. Okay, that's more than that. Okay, that's 5 times 100, right? You know, so your rate's just gone up a lot, and you know, you shouldn't trust that. I mean, if you get a session with me or any other competent psychic, they're usually going to have their prices published on a website or somewhere. You're going to know what it is coming into it, and it doesn't raise that much all of a sudden. I mean, if you want extra time, you know, of course there would be an additional fee. You know, if the reading is supposed to be 30 minutes and you want an hour, okay, it would make sense if it was double to me. But, you know, if a work that you're getting from anybody, I don't care even, it's a mechanic, okay? If it goes from, you know, being $5 or $10 to suddenly being $500 or $1,000 or asking for diamonds, that's a warning sign. That's not cool, okay? Now, I mean, if you have an agreement with the person coming in and, you know, it's arduous work for that person, I mean, like, if somebody is like, hey, Cynthia, I want you to come in and psychically clean out my house, which I don't really do, okay? I have done in the past, but I don't do very often. But they're like, hey, there's a demon in here, and I need you to come in and clean it out. Well, heck yeah, I'm going to ask for a lot of money if I want to do that. But I'm going to ask that up front, right? I'm not going to say it's just $5 or $10. And I might even ask them to take out a life insurance policy on me if they want me to go out, you know, after a demon, so in case something happens to me. But I'm not going to do that, so don't ask if you have that. I'm not coming to your house to clean it out. You're going to have to deal with that, okay? But my point here is, again, you know, listen to your own intuition. I always say that in many of my videos. You know, listen to your gut feeling. If at any point in time something doesn't feel right in your dealings with the person who claims to be psychic, or a spiritual guru for that matter, if at any point in time you wonder if you're getting taken advantage of, You should ask questions. You should put on the brakes. If that person makes you feel uncomfortable about that, then that's a warning sign. If somebody says to me, Cynthia, I'd like to get a reading, but I can't afford it, I don't pressure them. And especially if from listening to them, I know they really probably couldn't afford it. Now, sometimes they just say that, and that's the way they're trying to get a discount, and I don't do that. But, I'm a psychic of the people. I do read for a lot of the people, online and stuff, and the common people, I mean. And if somebody is, a struggling working class person and can't afford to get a reading, I don't try to pressure them in that direction. Doesn't mean I'm going to give it to them for free, because I'm a working person too. But, again, you shouldn't be pressured by the person who is your psychic. I mean, even if you do have the evil eye, and even if they are going to remove that, I mean, there should be, really, if you had the evil eye, let's just say, on you, which I doubt that hardly any of you do, but if you were truly suffering under that affliction, or whatever reason, whatever magical help you were asking this person with or for, in order for them to be able to really help you, there needs to be a clear flow of energy between the two. What I'm saying is, in order for them to actually be able to go into the psychic realms and the magical realms and do these workings for you, there has to be harmony in your relationship. You don't have to be best friends, okay? But there has to be a certain element of trust. And, if they're taking advantage of you like that, but then again, it's your own greed sometimes and your own fear that's letting that happen. So don't do that, okay? Don't consent to be taken advantage of. And if you didn't know that's what was happening, you're innocent. But now you've watched this video, okay? And now you're given the knowledge. So now you get to choose, whether you're going to allow yourself to be taken advantage of by unscrupulous people like that, or, whether you're going to be more selective in those dealings. And listen, I've said this before in other videos, just because you're having bad luck does not mean you're under a curse, okay? It can mean a lot of things. It can mean that your soul is going through a growth period, and you need to go through these experiences to become stronger and wiser. It could mean that you keep sabotaging yourself by doing things that are not in alignment with your soul's path. It could simply mean you're going through a hard time. There are a lot of other reasons besides being under a curse, and all of those should be explored as possibilities before we jump to this idea that you're under a curse. I do think curses are real sometimes. I don't think I have observed, in rare cases, really, I'm trying to remember all of the times when I've seen this was real. As far as I can remember at this moment and recall, all of those cases of real actual curses were with people who had crossed actual dark magicians, okay? So do you hang out with a bunch of people who do curses? I mean, really. I was cursed once by a dark magician, and he sent lightning after me, and that was real exciting and not in a good way. So yeah, I know what that's like, and you might need help to lift it sometimes. I acknowledge that. Sometimes it's just the help of a friend, somebody there to help you be courageous and positive. And sometimes it may be the help of a quote-unquote psychic. Not all psychics know how to lift curses. Most do not, actually. And so, if you're seeking out the help of a psychic or any other person to assist with what you might believe is a possible curse or entity, you might ask them if they've dealt with this kind of thing before, what their experience is with it. I mean, it's just like if you were hiring any other kind of professional. So some things to think about. And listen, don't be fooled by con artists and people who are just trying to pretend to be something they're not. Okay? So I'm making this video because I'm looking out for you guys. I don't want you to be that person who was in the news story. So I really don't want you to be the psychic who was in the news story, quote unquote psychic, you know, the fraudulent person. But I also don't want you to be that person who's being taken advantage of, because that's no way to live. So, and we want to live well, those of us who are on the spiritual psychic path, and I mean you as well, because I don't think you'd be watching my channel if you weren't on a path of your own awakening. So I want it to be a splendid path for you, filled with much joy and much light, and free from that kind of bullcrap. So that's my message for today. And I thank you for tuning in and for having some tea with me in the garden. Until next time, bright blessings and love to you all.